Most people in America don't realize that their relationship with food didn't change overnight. It was slowly rewritten. 100 years ago, food was local, seasonal, imperfect, and alive. People recognized what they ate because it looked like something that once grew, walked, or came out of the ground. Today, food looks engineered, polished, immortal. Packaged food did not appear to make life healthier. It appeared to make life faster, cheaper, and more profitable. When you walk through a supermarket, you are not walking through a place designed for human health. You are walking through a system designed for efficiency, scale, and repeat consumption. Every box, every packet, every frozen meal is the result of years of research into one question: how to make you eat more without realizing it. This is why packaged food focuses on flavor intensity instead of nourishment, convenience instead of digestion, and shelf life instead of biological compatibility. Real food has limits. It spoils, it changes, it forces you to respect time and preparation. Packaged food removes those limits, and in doing so, removes the natural signals your body depends on. When food does not spoil, your instincts cannot trust it. Your brain gets taste signals, but your body receives very little information it can actually use. That creates confusion at a cellular level. You feel full, but unsatisfied, energized for a moment, but exhausted later. This is not accidental. Ultra-processed foods are built around refined carbohydrates, industrial oils, artificial flavors, and chemical stabilizers that your ancestors never encountered. Your metabolism evolved over thousands of years to process whole inputs, not fragments extracted, recombined, and modified to survive warehouses and long-distance shipping. In the United States, the average diet is now dominated by calories that enter the bloodstream quickly but leave the cells starving. This is why hunger returns so fast. This is why cravings feel uncontrollable. This is why people blame themselves when the problem is not discipline but design. Packaged food does not behave like food once it enters the body. It behaves like a stimulus. It spikes blood sugar, hijacks dopamine pathways, and teaches the brain to prioritize intensity over balance. Over time, this rewiring dulls natural appetite regulation. People stop feeling hunger and fullness clearly. Instead, they eat by the clock, by stress, by emotion, or by habit. This is how a population can be both overweight and malnourished at the same time. Calories increase, nutrients disappear, fiber drops, micronutrients vanish, inflammation quietly rises, and because the damage happens slowly, it feels normal. That normalization is the most dangerous outcome of all. When illness develops gradually, people accept it as aging, genetics, or bad luck. They don't see the daily inputs shaping their biology. Packaged food thrives in this blindness. It wears health claims like armor: low fat, sugar-free, fortified, high protein. These words are not promises of health. They are solutions to problems the product itself created. Remove fat, add sugar. Remove sugar, add chemicals. Add protein isolates to distract from the absence of real structure. None of this resembles food in its original form. If a product needs constant reformulation to appear healthy, it is solving the wrong problem. Real food does not need correction. It already fits the human body. The longer a society relies on packaged food, the more disconnected it becomes from hunger, cooking, and patience. Meals turn into transactions instead of rituals. Eating becomes something done quickly, alone, distracted. And when food loses its role as nourishment, it becomes entertainment. That is when overconsumption becomes inevitable, not because people are weak, but because the system is strong. What makes this issue especially critical in the United States is that packaged food is not just an option, it is the default. It is cheaper, more visible, and aggressively marketed, especially to children. From an early age, taste preferences are shaped around sweetness, saltiness, and artificial intensity. Natural foods begin to feel bland by comparison, not because they are, but because the nervous system has been overstimulated. This early conditioning carries into adulthood, where convenience becomes necessity and cooking feels like effort instead of skill. Over time, people forget that energy, focus, mood, and even mental clarity are deeply tied to food quality. They normalize brain fog, crashes, and constant fatigue as part of modern life. But the human body did not change in the last 50 years. The food did. When people transition back toward real food, something revealing happens. Hunger becomes calmer. Meals become satisfying without excess. Cravings lose their urgency. This is not about moral superiority or extreme restriction. It is about biological alignment. The body recognizes whole foods because they arrive with fiber, water, enzymes, and micronutrients in ratios that digestion understands. Blood sugar rises slowly, hormones communicate clearly, and energy lasts longer. Packaged food interrupts this communication. It speaks loudly but says very little. The food industry often argues that these products are necessary to feed large populations, but this confuses availability with health. Feeding people is not the same as nourishing them. A society can be full and still be thick. The economic cost of this confusion is massive, but the human cost is larger. Chronic disease does not begin with diagnosis. It begins with daily choices shaped by environment. When the environment is dominated by packaged food, the outcome is predictable. The solution is not fear, guilt, or perfection. It is literacy. Knowing how to read ingredients, understanding how processing changes food behavior, and recognizing that marketing language is not biology. A simple shift in thinking can change everything. Food that comes from nature tends to support the body. Food that comes from factories tends to challenge it. This does not mean never eating packaged food again. It means understanding its role. It is a backup, not a foundation. When packaged food becomes the base of a diet, health becomes fragile. When real food becomes the base, flexibility returns. The future of health in America does not depend on new superfoods or supplements, but on reconnecting with what food actually is. Not something designed to last forever on a shelf, but something meant to pass through the body and leave it stronger. Packaged food sells convenience, but real food delivers resilience. And once people understand that difference, control quietly shifts back into their hands.
In the modern American lifestyle, food has quietly transformed from nourishment into a product, and most people never noticed when that line was crossed. Packaged food didn't become dominant because it was healthier. It became dominant because it was scalable, profitable, and easy to standardize across millions of lives moving at high speed. When something is designed to be eaten anywhere, anytime, by anyone, it must be stripped of complexity. And real food is nothing but complexity. Real food changes with seasons, soil, weather, and time, while packaged food must remain identical whether it is opened in New York, Texas, or California. To achieve that sameness, natural structures are broken down, refined, extracted, and rebuilt using industrial processes that favor shelf life over biological harmony. The result is food that looks familiar but behaves differently once inside the body. It delivers quick energy without long-term satisfaction, intense flavor without nutritional depth, and fullness without cellular nourishment. This mismatch creates a constant loop of eating without true replenishment, which is why people often feel tired even after meals and hungry shortly after eating. The body is not confused because it lacks intelligence. It is confused because the signals it receives are incomplete. Fiber, micronutrients, and natural fats act as information, not just fuel, telling the body how fast to digest, how much insulin to release, and when to stop eating. Packaged food removes much of this information while amplifying sensory pleasure, teaching the brain to chase taste instead of balance. Over time, this rewiring reshapes appetite itself, making moderation feel unnatural and excess feel normal. In the United States, this pattern has produced a population surrounded by abundance, yet struggling with chronic inflammation, metabolic disorders, and energy instability, not because food is scarce, but because nourishment is. The cultural narrative often blames individuals for these outcomes, framing health as a matter of discipline, while ignoring how the environment continuously nudges people toward choices that undermine their biology. Children grow up recognizing brands before ingredients, flavors before foods, and convenience before care. Embedding habits